Hi guys, welcome back to Bay Area Fishing. I hope you enjoyed the last video about a tutorial on swim baits and certain sizes, when to use them, and whatnot like that. But today we're going to dive deep into finesse tactics, finesse fishing. So I'm going to go into my top five finesse fishing baits. First one, I know you guys love crankbaits. So when you're crankbait fishing, you're just not getting those bites. Your crankbaits are nice big, they're wobbling in the water. I mean, they're providing the action they need, but then when it comes down to it, you're not getting any bites, you're not getting any hits. That's when you need to downsize. This little guy right here, this is the Mini Fat Rat by Rapala. I personally like these. I mean, they're super finesse style. If you look at that compared to the palm of my hand, I mean, that's small. And these dive just about, I want to say, 3 feet. These are like sinking ones. So they sink and then they'll wobble as they go across. Now, the reason I like Rapala's products, they're hand-tuned, they're handcrafted. Never had a problem with them. Love using them. They're reliable. And that color you guys saw right there is red craw. I mean, I got a bunch of different colors, you know, so I mean, I got fire tiger, I got perch, I got bluegill, you name it, I got it. Now, the reason why I say to use those is because if you're not getting bites on those bigger cranks, sometimes if you downsize your bait just a tad bit, I downsize mine quite a bit, so that size is about half as big as your traditional KVD square bill. But I like using those for that type of work. So, second bait I'm going to talk about. This is a Berkeley powerbait twitchtail with a Maniac lures half moon jig head on there. That's Berkeley powerbait twitchtail. Now I'm going to explain to you why this works so effectively. And you see that tail there? It's so skinny, so when this thing goes jigging up and down, because this is vertical jigging, it's waving this tail in the water just exactly like a bait fish would. And it's super skinny. I mean, you can even trim it down a little bit to that skinny part, because the end is actually fatter to make it wobble more. Instances I'm going to use this is when you're not getting very many bites on your traditional worms, or your jigs with plastic on them, plastic trailers. So I would use that. All right, going into yet another jig category. This is what we're all pretty much familiar with, if I could just hang on to it. And that is the Ned rig. So if you guys can see that, that's the Ned rig. This color on this is blue claw, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to say blue craw, but this is a good color, as well as the color that they have that's called the Deal. That is a pretty dang good color. I put this on a white jig head, Zman jig head. And that's a super finesse presentation. You're not getting any bites at all. Throw that thing out there, start jigging it off the bottom. What that provides, I've talked about this in the last episode, is that jig head actually stands up on the bottom, so it wavers in the water with the current. So it's almost like a minnow feeding. Now the third one, this doesn't get talked about too much in the fishing industry, which I wish it did. This is plastic worm fishing. Now I know a lot of you out there are like, well, if you're fishing finesse, you're not going to fish a plastic worm. You're going to fish really, really small things, such as your cranks or your jig heads with those things on them. But I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. This is gonna work. This right here is a plastic worm. if you'll notice, it's about the size of my index finger. So I mean, it's like 2.5 inches, I want to say. It's a half inch more than the Zman. So it's 3.25 inches. So about your average finesse swim bait style bait. And what I actually use is I took a Berkeley Havoc. These are the juice worms. I took one of these out of the pack, and if I can get another one out of here, I took that tail and I cut that tail right at the end there. And then, now, a lot of people have asked me, well, how does this catch fish more than just a regular plastic worm? Well, let me tell you, it's got a screw in the end there. Now, a lot of people question me why I do that. It adds weight to it, first of all. So it adds weight, and it sits down on the bottom just like a Ned rig would. Just like a red Ned rig. So the best part about it, too, is they're not going to feel that weight. They're not going to feel the hook up there, because you're going to have this Texas rig. You're going to have this so you can have it in the weeds. You can pull them out of those weeds pretty quick. My personal suggestion, throwing this on 15-pound mono, fluoro, 20-pound braid, that would work perfect for this type of scenario. Now, another one that doesn't get talked about too much, which I found out, is really one of my favorite baits of all time to throw. And this is the Berkeley power bait, the Jester. I don't know if you guys can see that. There we go. It's got those flappy appendages, and I put that on a Strike King bitsy jig. And that provides just enough hook there to get me a hook set. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. That provides just enough hook set there to where I can hook them, pull them in, drag them in. Now these weights are only like, I want to say 3/8 ounce, or maybe not even that. I think they're a 1/4 ounce for the bitsy jigs. I trim them up a little bit so that the silicone skirt just reaches the belly, or the top of those appendages there. If you look at that, right there is where the bottom is. And so that is a good presentation for like springtime, and you want to catch bigger fish but more finesse style. And those are my top 5 tips for today on finesse bass fishing. This is episode 1. I'm going to have another episode where I talk a little bit more into jig fishing and spoon fishing, more cold water techniques to catch more fish.